Behind me is the quilt from our Mi Casa Quilt sew along from our May Sew Sampler box, and it looks like this. So I'm gonna step aside so you can see the quilt. So here it is. I wanted to kind of mimic exactly the quilt and how it's written here. So if you have this at home, you can kind of look and say, okay, you know what? It looked exactly like the quilt pictured. But what I am going to do with this quilt is add a border to the top, and I want to show you what that border is, and I want you to comment down below and tell me if it looks okay with this quilt behind me. Let me get the border and I'll show you what I have in mind, okay? I have cut out this Lori Holt Farm Girl vintage fabric. I thought it would be perfect for the top and the bottom. So I want you to comment down below if you think I should put a top and a bottom border on to kind of give it a little bit of like, you know, like make it longer for the person that I'm going to give it to, because this quilt will be gifted as a gift. So, and they're about, she's about my height, 5'7". So 5'7". So when you're laying on the couch, it will be a nice size quilt to kind of like cover your feet and then be a little bit longer for that person. So I want you to comment down below and let me know if I should put a top and bottom border, or if you think I should use a different kind of fabric, or this is good enough. So, and the reason why I'm using it is because I thought it has a blue, it has a yellow, it has, you know, the red, and you know, it kind of goes. Even though it's a Riley Blake, it still matches our theme here, okay? So I was thinking about using this beautiful polka dot for my binding. I've already made it, and it is already good to go. I have a rule of thumb when I do binding. I always cut out 1 yard of 2 inches strips, so I can, if I have some left over, I can reuse it and kind of like do like a scrappy binding without having to cut out additional like 2-inch pieces of strips, and I can just kind of join it together. So let me show you what I do. There's a method to my madness, y'all. So I would just open it up like this. If I have a scrappy binding, I will open it up like this, and I will attach another binding that's already done. I will attach it to it, and I'll just sew on while it's still wrapped. So that way I won't waste my strips. And let me show you how I store my binding, okay? So you can kind of you can make sense of what I am talking about. Let me show you my binding bucket and what is all in there. This is my binding bucket. So whenever I have leftover binding, I will put them in this bucket right here. And so when I have something left over, I'll put it here. For example, this one, I changed my mind on. I used it, but this is leftover from something else. And then this was the leftover from binding the butterfly quilt from the tulip pink, and it's enough to bind another quilt. So I have that right here. And so I have other ones. So that way, when I am ready to bind and I think, oh yeah, this will look nice or whatever, or I don't have enough, I can always do a scrappy binding with my leftovers. So a rule of thumb for me, if a binding calls for like 5/8 of a yard, I would just go on ahead and cut the entire yard and just have some left over, because it doesn't hurt to have leftover. And I want you to comment down below, what is your least favorite part of the quilting process? So mine is binding. So since that's my least favorite part of quilting, I always cut out extra binding, so that way I don't have to look later for binding or what matches. So that's how I kind of sink it in my brain. Since it's my least favorite, I always go above and beyond when it comes to getting binding done, I do more than I need, so that way I don't have to do it again later. If this matches something else later and I have enough, I'll just pick it up and I'll just use it, because I do not like cutting binding, y'all. That is my least favorite part of quilting. Comment down below, what is your least favorite part, and how you make yourself do it, even if it is your least favorite. So that's how I trick my brain to doing binding and not wait forever, because some people will have the quilt done, will have it quilted, but they don't bind it. Since that is my least favorite, I try to have the binding done in advance so the quilt doesn't sit there and wait for me to bind it. That's how I trick my brain. So I want you to comment down below though, because I want to know yours, because I'm nosy and you know it. So there you go. Anyways, with that being said, if you are new here, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe down below. It lets YouTube know that you guys are watching my video and you are interested in what I am putting out on YouTube. So please subscribe down below and support me. And I thank you very much if you already subscribed. So with that being said, let's get on with today's program. I'm going to put this quilt behind me together, and you're going to comment down below again to let me know if I should put the top and bottom border on using this Lori Holt Farm Girl Vintage fabric. I cut out 6.5, so I will put it on depending on what y'all think. I love it though, so I might still put it on, but I want to know what you think. Okay, using this right here, I'm going to use it as my guide so I don't kind of like mix up the orientation of the quilt. So we are not sewing the blocks today, we're just going to put this together. So I have put my pieces right here. These are large block, guys, so it's you can put it together rather quickly. So we're gonna just sew it like this. I'm gonna put that right there. Whenever I'm sewing a long strip, I always use this gauge, so that way it keeps my 1/4 inch seam on point. I'm coming to you from Houston, Texas, and this has been one of the hottest summer I have experienced since I lived here. It is 104 today. That's what the temperature said, but when you're driving out and about, it is reading in my car as 110. Whenever I'm driving up, the little temperature thing on the dashboard is saying 110. I just stay inside. So that's what we're going through here in Texas. All right, so let's do this. Where my seam meet here, so they will stay on, and I'm going to pin the end right here. They will be even. All right, so this top part is completed, and we're going to sew our middle row now. So now I am going to sew the middle row, which is the house and the hourglass block from the left, okay? And again, I'm going to pin this so it will match up. This part, I am going to press them to the side for now, and then when I give it heat, then I'll go ahead and press it open, or depending on how easier it will lay with the rest of the point. So for now, I'm just gonna finger press it to the side, and I'm gonna put it back on the board. And so now I'm sewing the third row right here. and I'm going to put them together and meet my points. So all the blocks have been put together at this point. The house in the middle is sewn to their little two side friends right here, and the bottom pieces are sewn together. So what I'm doing is just kind of putting this right here to this, and then I'll put this guy to this guy, or vice versa. So while it's on the board, I will go on ahead and I will flip it down like I did with the Barn Star, and I will kind of pin it, and I'll bring it to my sewing machine and I'll start sewing it together, and then we'll put the borders on, and then we're done. The top and the middle are now on. I'm going to sew on the bottom part, okay? We're sewing on the bottom segment now, and then we'll put the borders, and that's it. The last part for this quilt is to sew on the side borders to all four, okay? And then when I am done with that, we will meet back here, all right? I totally forgot to put on the microphone. There you go. So now our quilt is done. As you can see, this is a very forgiving quilt, okay? If you're a beginner, this is something that you can whip up in a weekend. So the only thing is that making sure that our points meet. And if your point doesn't really meet, by the time the quilt is done, nobody would know. So I still don't get it right, and I still visit Jack every now and again, as you can see. So not all the time that your points will meet. Just make sure you pin. But with this quilt, it's so nice and it's so easy and it's so fast. You don't need a lot of fabric. If you don't have your stash build up yet, this is something you can whip up. I just want to give you an encouragement to look inside your stash and look inside your scrap and use what you have. And when we come back to quilt this quilt, I will either have the border on or do something different to it. So when I come back with this quilt to free motion quilted, it will have either top border the same color, or something will be done to it that's to make it my own. This is kind of what it will look like if I were to put a top border on. This would be on top like this, and it will have another one on the bottom. That's it. Nothing will be on the side. It will just kind of have like a border, a top border, and a bottom border. So I'm just kind of on the fence about putting it on. But since I'm gifting this quilt and I want it to be able to be like a full body cover, I want it to be useful for the person that I'm giving it to. So that's why I'm kind of wanted to put my own twist into it by putting this tab on. So still comment down below and let me know what you think. But for now, this is it. We are done. And I hope you're sewing along with me. And if you have not made yours and you get the Sew Sampler box, I am telling you, if you haven't started yet, you can totally whip this up on a weekend. And if you want to, like, for example, also an idea for you, if you don't want to put a house here, you can switch it out for a heart. Like, put a heart right here and gift it to a little girl. And then, or you can change this to like Christmas. So you can put pine trees right here. You put 3 of them, like stagger it. So this quilt can be for any season. It can be gifted to anyone, and then you can use it at home too if you don't want to give it away. But for this one of our dear friends just moved away and they just bought another house. So we're going to give this one to them because they just moved. It is perfectly appropriate for this time to give it to them. So it will be good gifted. It would not be, staying here. But if I want my own quilt, I can always make one over the weekend. If you are new here, please don't forget to subscribe down below. And if you are a subscriber of mine, I want to thank you so much. With that being said, I will love to see you in my next video. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.